Good afternoon, Keith Tebow from FRCmedia. Thank you for joining us today as we begin another year. We're in early January, and there's still a lot of issues from 2020, of course, that are carrying over into 2021. And, we like to get a pulse every now and then and an update from some within our nonprofit community that are really meeting some extreme needs of many of our residents. And we spoke to this individual first time back in April, and I think we've talked to her a couple of times throughout the year. We're pleased to get an update now on the United Way's work here in Fall River. I'm pleased to be joined by their executive director, Kim Smith. Kim, how are you? Happy New Year.
I'm well, Keith. Thank you. Happy New Year to you. Welcome 2021.
Welcome 2021. As we said before we started, hopefully it's a lot better than the one we just finished. We spoke a while ago, as I mentioned, beginning back in April, when COVID just started, about how you and your staff and your volunteers and your workers at the United Way sort of took the lead in many ways in helping organize a lot of efforts across the community in terms of meeting the needs of people that were impacted by COVID, and working with a lot of other advocacy and nonprofit organizations. Give us an update, Kim, on how's that's still continuing to work, and how those organizations and the United Way are trying to make a big difference to get people to continue to survive this pandemic.
Sure. So certainly the work is ongoing, and we expect that it will continue well into the future, as it has in the past, pre-COVID. What's different is that the collaboration among our nonprofit partners, business and community partners, as well as our legislators and our government officials, are all really working together to collaborate on solutions to what is happening. We're trying to anticipate things that might be coming down the pike in the spring and be proactive versus reactive. So what began as a sort of a community think tank that was meeting every week on Tuesday mornings, we called it Let's Talk on Tuesday. And it was really bringing together all of those partners that I just mentioned, is still ongoing. We're meeting every other Tuesday now, and we are continuing to address gaps that are identified out there in the community, new needs, old needs, what is working and what isn't, and how we can best address the solutions to whatever it is that is happening now without duplicating effort, maximizing the resources that we have, because we're all sort of stretched thin, as you know. And we're, of course, the key, the key here is really being safe in everything that we do. So we have to be creative, because normally we'd have a call to action for volunteers and, getting involved with boots on the ground and so forth. And we just have to be a little bit more creative with what we're doing to help our community. So it's an ongoing effort, that's for sure.
Yeah. I know, one of the main resources, and we reference it a lot on FRCmedia, we've shared it on our website and on our Facebook page, and we've done stories about this throughout the year, is with you and with others. I know we've talked with Wendy Garth-Lip and United Neighbors of Fall River, is the issue of food insecurity. And I know on the United Way website, and you've shared it on, I know, the Facebook pages and whatever, the current list of food pantries. Is that still probably one of the glaring needs throughout this
Absolutely.
whole pandemic? Is the fact of the food insecurity issue and people just trying to put food on their table?
Absolutely. It's ongoing. And in fact, it's one of the subcommittees of our Talk on Tuesday group. We collectively call ourselves United We Help Greater Fall River. So Wendy, as the executive director of United Neighbors, and myself with the United Way of Greater Fall River, are working together to facilitate or co-facilitate this group. And food security, distribution of goods, basic needs are definitely one of their critical components. And as I said, we continue to meet with the subcommittee to make sure that people are aware of the resources that are out there. Many of them are consistent and have been serving our community throughout the course of time, if you will, and just sort of have stepped up to the plate a bit more during COVID. But there are a lot of other resources that we're finding have come in and out of the community. One being the Farmers to Families produce boxes that were funded and really pushed forth by the USDA. The schools got involved with that as well. And so we're just helping with distribution of these goods, making sure that if there's changes in hours or a new sort of partner comes into play, that folks are aware of who, when, what, where. Of course, the United Way funds food grants on an annual basis, and so that is obviously critical for their operations. Many of them work with the Greater Boston Food Bank to help supply our area. So it's bringing together those partners to make sure that we can complement each other and reach all corners of our communities. An example of that would be the YMCA's Full Plate Project. The Swansea Y is now a partner in that as well. And so, where Swansea might not have had such an active food pantry, so to speak, the Swansea Y has stepped up to that role with the Full Plate Project at their YMCA on Shopslot Road.
Yeah. One of the things that the United Way has always been an important part in our community is your institutional, meaning the United Way's institutional work at raising funds for needs. I'll talk about the annual campaign appeal in just a few moments, but I want to talk about what was created in terms of COVID, the United We Help Greater Fall River COVID-19 Relief Fund. Is that still ongoing? I know you've raised thousands of dollars and distributed it within our community. What's the status of that? Can people still give? And, I know you've done many rounds of grants as relates to this fund. So I guess give us an update on how that's working out.
Sure. Certainly people can still give. It is an ongoing effort to raise funds and be able to respond. Not necessarily so much an emergency response anymore, but certainly a response to needs as they're changing and developing in relation to COVID-19 and the ongoing pandemic. Remote learning pods was an example of that, to sort of shift the support for our student body that is learning at home and maybe unsupervised. So our COVID-19 Relief Fund, we launched the day that the governor shut down the state last year, March 13th. And we collectively raised close to $750,000. And that is in partnership with folks like the South Coast Community Foundation and local business partners, and many, many, many individuals who stepped up and said, gee, what can I do to help? We all want to do something, and what is it that we can do? So a lot of that, about $250,000 of that went to United We Help Feed Fall River, and we served close to 65,000 meals over the course of time. We just did 2 rounds during the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. The great part of that was that not only did we serve over 200 families a week, and the average family was about 4 people or so, but we engaged local restaurants to actually provide the warm meals. And so sort of stimulating the economy, keeping people employed, and keeping it local, really local people helping local people. The rest of it is really towards supporting those organizations that are providing the basic services. Again, some of it emergency response, like rent and utility assistance that maybe individuals wouldn't qualify for under some of the other stimulus funds that are out there. Basic needs, coats, anything from coats and clothing to food and shelter to, some of the different sort of shifting in job training, believe it or not, educational opportunities that are out there. So we've given 2 rounds so far of funding to community partners, and we have a 3rd round pending. And we're sort of waiting to see what is happening right now in the current climate, not only politically, but also as we, here we are in the middle of winter, what's happening with our school partners, our community partners, what's happening with rent and utility assistance, with those types of things. So we still have about $175,000 right now to distribute. But again, the COVID-19 Relief Fund is open and can take in donations. Simply go to uwgfr.org and you'll see that donate button. And no gift is too small, really. It all goes to help our local community.
Yeah, I know. I want to dovetail now to the annual campaign. The United Way is known, of course, as raising again that fundraising arm in many ways, and in terms of gathering donations for local community needs. The latest campaign started just recently in the fall. Big kickoff up in the reservation section of Fall River. You had a activity associated with it, a walk, and people getting healthy as part of that kickoff. How has that gone thus far, and how has, I guess, conflicting um, uh, programs in terms of the relief fund, has that impacted at all people giving to the annual campaign?
Honestly, Keith, I think we have not seen any conflict or sort of decrease, if you will, in giving to our COVID-19 relief fund or the annual fund. They're not competing with each other. In fact, they're complementing each other and ensuring that those vital services that are needed right now in response to the pandemic are able to be there and provided to the community. But ongoing, throughout the course of time, the United Way, our fundraising activities are meant to support the community providers that are critical. They provide critical services to people in need all the time. And that is in the key areas of health, education, financial stability, and of course, basic needs. And so our partners, our community partners, nonprofit agency partners that provide services are doing so amidst the pandemic and sort of enduring the the need and really providing the services that are there in order to help people become healthy and respond well to whether it's some type of health services that they're receiving or educational supports, really to become the best version of themselves, to achieve independence, resiliency, positive outcomes in their course of whether it's recovery or whatever the case may be. So around health, of course, we want people to achieve their best mental health, behavioral health, physical health. In terms of education, we're really looking at early education and childcare and how that sort of the stimulation of the brain and the learning that occurs in the first 5 years of a child's life is so critically important to their success in the future. There's so many studies around that now, and you'll see a lot of focus is going to be taking place on that locally. And that's also United Way nationally is looking at that as well. And then, of course, financial stability, that's really the way for folks to achieve independence, is to become financially stable, getting a job, maybe retraining, additional education, could be vocational or technical training, so that people can maybe rent their own apartment, buy their own home, sort of achieve that financial independence and have some, resiliency in terms of if sort of they're thrown a curveball, then they're not sort of starting back at square one. They have the ability to, to save and things like that. So these are things that are ongoing, pandemic or not. We have these support services that are needed in our community, and the United Way's been there with that safety net for many years, and that's where we hope to focus on going forward in the future.
Yeah, let me just ask you finally, Kim, as we wrap up. I was talking to the members of the One South Coast Chamber yesterday about business and updates in terms of business and the hits they've taken throughout the pandemic. And I kind of asked them to put on their take out their crystal ball and put on their glasses to see if they can look forward into the future. What do you expect 2021 to look like in terms of what your and the United Way is doing? Just pretty much moving forward, meeting the needs, hopefully without any other curveballs or any other obstacles in the way?
Sure. I think that, certainly we'll continue to move forward and work with our community partners to make sure that we're identifying those gaps and filling the needs. We're trying to be proactive, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of collaborating with the different partners throughout the community, working with organizations like the South Coast Foundation, different businesses who have sort of their stakeholders and sort of skin in the game, different organizations like the Chamber to sort of find out and work with different partners to see how we can continue to stimulate the local economy, and just kind of making sure everybody stays sort of healthy. So,
yeah, that's going to be a big part as we continue through the beginning of 2021. Kim Smith, the Executive Director of the United Way of Greater Fall River, thank you for your time as always. We'll catch up again soon, and Happy New Year again.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks for having us. Happy New Year to you.
And thank you for joining us today here on FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great day.